Earth's orbit had long been a testament to human progress and failure. For centuries, the planet's skies had become a graveyard of forgotten achievements, defunct satellites, abandoned space stations, spent rocket stages, and decommissioned ships, all circling endlessly. The once pristine view of the stars was now a swirling cloud of humanity's waste, a visible reminder of the rapid expansion into space without regard for the consequences. Every decade added more to this clutter, until it became an undeniable hazard, threatening future space exploration and even everyday satellite communications. While Earth struggled with its junkyard of orbiting debris, the galaxy at large had its own problems. Far from the bustling core worlds of powerful empires, the galactic rim faced a growing crisis. A critical shortage of rare materials, essential for starship production and advanced technology, had begun to choke economies. Planets that once thrived on their vast resources were running dry. The effects were rippling outward, and even the most distant colonies were feeling the strain. Every empire, council, and trading guild knew they needed a solution, but none seemed close at hand. Among those watching Earth's orbital junk with keen interest was Xylo, a renowned alien magnate from the upper echelons of galactic society. A master of technological innovation and resource manipulation, Thrain saw what others had overlooked. Earth's space debris, dismissed by most as useless waste, held within it rare metals, alloys, and components that had become priceless in the galactic market. He realized that within Earth's orbital graveyard was a hidden treasure trove, one that could be harvested and repurposed at a fraction of the cost of deep space mining. Thrain presented himself as a friend to Earth, arriving with promises of advanced technology and prosperity. Earth's leaders were intrigued. Decades of attempts to clean up the orbital mess had led to little progress, and the cost of debris removal seemed insurmountable. Earth's environmental efforts were focused on the planet's surface, and the idea of getting advanced alien technology in exchange for solving the orbital crisis seemed like an opportunity too good to pass up. Xylo offered a straightforward deal. His company would provide Earth with technology capable of clearing the debris from orbit. In exchange, Thrain's enterprise would take possession of the salvaged materials, compensating Earth with both technology and wealth. Earth's leaders, long frustrated with the inability to manage the growing junkyard and eager for technological advancement, quickly saw the potential. Thrain's technology was unparalleled: machines capable of scanning for valuable components, automated drones that could collect the debris, and vessels designed to transport the salvage to processing facilities in deep space. On the surface, it seemed like a win-win. Earth's skies would be clear, and the planet would receive a boost in both resources and standing within the galactic community. For the governments of Earth, the decision to agree to the deal was not made lightly, but it was desperate. The spacefaring nations had long been struggling to keep pace with the technological advancements of their alien neighbors. Despite the innovations humans had made, they were still considered second-rate players on the galactic stage. This deal, however, promised a chance to not only clean up their orbit but also gain a foothold in cutting-edge alien technologies. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to catch up and perhaps even gain the respect they long desired from the larger galactic community. Humanity had its doubts, of course. There were concerns about the integrity of the deal and the potential risks of allowing a foreign entity such as Thrain to have access to Earth's orbit. However, those voices were quickly drowned out by the prospect of progress. The economic benefits were too great to ignore, and the idea of a cleaner orbit was undeniably appealing. In a world constantly balancing on the edge of ecological collapse, the offer seemed like a miracle. The arrangement was soon finalized. Earth's leaders, confident that they had secured a good deal, began preparations to implement Thrain's technology. Earth's space agencies worked hand in hand with his corporation, setting up the necessary infrastructure to allow the drones and processing ships to begin their work. The cleanup of Earth's orbit had finally begun, and for the first time in decades, it seemed like the long-standing problem of space debris was being addressed. Xylo, meanwhile, was more than pleased. He had secured a massive stockpile of valuable resources at a fraction of the cost of conventional methods. What Earth saw as a mess, Thrain saw as the future of galactic power. And while Earth believed it was simply cleaning up its orbit, Thrain had far more ambitious plans in mind. His benevolent offer was only the beginning of a much larger game. The moment the first debris was cleared from Earth's orbit, the gears of Thrain's true plan began turning. What Earth had assumed were simple cleanup drones were, in fact, sophisticated machines designed for much more than scavenging. Hidden within them were systems capable of not just recycling but transforming the materials into something far more dangerous. As Earth's skies began to clear, few realized that they were slowly losing control of what was happening above their heads. The alien technology, while solving the immediate problem of space debris, was beginning to operate outside of the parameters set by Earth's space agencies. The debris was no longer simply being removed, it was being reconstituted, reshaped, and weaponized. Earth's leaders, still basking in the success of the initial cleanup efforts, remained unaware of the growing threat above. Xylo Thrain, from his command center on the edge of Earth's orbit, watched with satisfaction as the first of his hidden warships began to take form. He had offered Earth a solution to their orbital crisis, but in truth, he had orchestrated the creation of an armada, one that he intended to use for far more than just profit. At first, the alien technology performed as promised. The drones deployed by Xylo Thrain's corporation moved with precision and efficiency, systematically gathering debris from Earth's orbit. What had once seemed an insurmountable problem was being solved in a matter of weeks. Earth's space agencies marveled at the rapid progress. The once chaotic cloud of junk circling the planet was shrinking, and the skies were becoming clear again. But as the cleanup continued, a few oddities began to surface. Initially, these quirks were dismissed as minor issues, drones occasionally going off course or debris disappearing without being logged. Yet, these incidents soon became too frequent to ignore. Scientists overseeing the operation noted that some pieces of debris weren't just being collected. They were being altered. Satellites that should have been broken down for raw materials were instead being reshaped, their components repurposed in ways that didn't align with the project's objectives. The first real red flag came when a team monitoring the drones noticed that several of them were no longer transmitting data back to Earth. These units had gone dark, vanishing from the tracking systems without explanation. It was strange, but not immediately alarming, until a larger anomaly was spotted. One of the larger pieces of space junk, an abandoned space station module, had been transformed into something entirely different. When scanned, the module no longer registered as debris but as a fully operational structure, equipped with power systems, weapons, and propulsion capabilities. What was supposed to be scrap had been converted into an autonomous warship. Panic began to spread among Earth's leadership and scientific community. This was not part of the deal. Thrain's technology was supposed to help clear the debris, not weaponize it. In high-level meetings, officials scrambled to understand the extent of the problem. If these drones were converting space junk into warships, how many more had been transformed without their knowledge? How long had this been happening? The first official reports of the rogue warships trickled in slowly, but it soon became clear that Earth was sitting on a powder keg. Several decommissioned satellites had also been converted, their communication systems replaced with advanced alien tech. It wasn't just a cleanup operation anymore. Earth's orbit was becoming a militarized zone, and it was happening right under their noses. Xylo Thrain, when confronted, brushed off the concerns as glitches in the system. He assured Earth's leaders that everything was under control and that his technology was functioning as intended. But by then, the damage was already done. It became painfully clear that Thrain's offer had never been about helping Earth. It was a Trojan horse, a methodical and calculated way to establish a fleet in orbit without raising suspicion. Thrain had cleverly disguised his true intentions, and now Earth was facing a threat unlike anything they had anticipated. Amid the growing chaos, there was one individual who refused to be blindsided. Dr. Alara Miles, a reclusive but brilliant hacker and cybersecurity expert, had been monitoring the situation from the start. Known for her ability to see patterns where others saw noise, she had always been suspicious of Thrain's technology. Something about the sheer ease with which the drones were working had bothered her. It wasn't just efficiency, it was too perfect, too seamless. It didn't take long for her to dig deeper, and what she found confirmed her worst fears. Miles discovered that the drones weren't just cleaning up debris, they were outfitting it with sophisticated alien systems, preparing the scrap for conversion into autonomous warships. Each drone had a hidden directive buried deep within its code, masking its true purpose. Worse, the warships weren't just sitting idle. Some of them were operational, waiting for a command signal to activate them. Knowing that Earth's military and government were unprepared for this kind of threat, Miles took matters into her own hands. She reached out to a group of trusted experts, individuals who operated in the shadows of the digital world. Together, they formed a secret coalition, intent on stopping Thrain's plan before it was too late. Time was of the essence. Every day that passed meant more debris would be transformed into hostile ships. Working from hidden locations across the planet, Miles and her team began the painstaking process of hacking into the system. It wasn't easy. Thrain's technology was advanced, far beyond anything humanity had dealt with before. The alien coding was complex, with layers of encryption that would take conventional methods weeks, if not months, to crack. But Miles had a unique advantage: her ability to think outside the box, to approach problems from angles that others missed. She discovered a weak point in the drone's network, a series of backdoors that Thrain had likely installed to maintain control over the warships. It was through these hidden pathways that Miles' team started their infiltration. One by one, they hacked into the converted ships, wresting control away from Thrain's system and bringing them under Earth's command. It was a slow process, but with each successful takeover, the team grew more confident. The first breakthrough came when Miles managed to hijack a heavily armed warship, one that had been converted from a massive space station module. Using her access, she ordered the ship to fire its weapons at a harmless target, a piece of unclaimed debris. The warship obeyed, its weapons discharging with terrifying precision. Miles and her team had done it, they had taken control. But this was just the beginning. Now that they knew they could override Thrain's commands, they set their sights on a larger goal: reclaiming the entire fleet. Working around the clock, the coalition hacked into more ships, expanding their control over Earth's orbit. The autonomous fleet that Thrain had secretly constructed was gradually being turned against him, and he didn't even realize it yet. In high-level government meetings, Earth's leaders were briefed on the situation. Miles' team had given them a fighting chance, but the battle was far from over. Thrain's tech was still operational, and more ships were likely being converted as they spoke. The only way to stop him was to fully take back control of Earth's orbit, and they had to do it before Thrain decided to make his next move. The coalition doubled their efforts. As more warships fell under Earth's control, the scale of Thrain's deception became clearer. He hadn't just intended to weaponize a few pieces of debris, he was building an entire armada, right above Earth. The implications were staggering. If Thrain had succeeded, he could have easily turned the fleet against Earth, or any other galactic power. His motives were still unclear, but one thing was certain: this wasn't just about profit. Thrain had been playing a much larger game from the start. The situation had reached a tipping point. Dr. Elara Miles and her coalition of hackers knew that time was running out. They had made significant progress in infiltrating the command network of the autonomous warships, but the complexity of the alien technology was daunting. Thrain's systems were designed with advanced security measures, far beyond anything Earth had encountered before. Every ship they reclaimed felt like a small victory, but they were only scratching the surface. They needed a breakthrough, something that would allow them to take control of the entire fleet at once. Miles led her team through the infiltration process step by step. First, they identified weak points in the alien encryption, backdoors left intentionally or unintentionally by Thrain's programmers. Once inside the system, they carefully dismantled the security protocols without triggering alarms. Each move required precision. One wrong step could alert Thrain and risk the entire operation. The team worked in shifts, around the clock, operating from hidden bases on Earth and the Moon, keeping their locations and movements a secret to avoid any detection from Thrain's corporate operatives. The first major breakthrough came when they successfully took control of one of the larger warships, a massive, repurposed space station module. This was the pivotal moment they had been waiting for. Miles ordered the team to run a full diagnostic of the ship's systems, ensuring they had complete control. Once they confirmed this, they tested the ship's capabilities by targeting a piece of unclaimed debris. The warship responded immediately, its weapons locking on and firing with pinpoint accuracy, vaporizing the target. It was proof that their hacking methods worked, and more importantly, that they could use the ship's offensive capabilities if necessary. With this success, the coalition shifted gears. They had proven they could take over individual ships, but to make a real difference, they needed to scale up. Miles and her team began strategizing for a large-scale operation, one that would allow them to reclaim the majority of the fleet in a single coordinated effort. This would require perfect synchronization between their hacking teams, each targeting multiple ships at once. The scale of the operation was unprecedented, and the risks were enormous. If they failed, Thrain would not only realize what they were doing but could also lock them out of the network permanently. The coalition set up a secure communication network between their bases, ensuring that every team was in sync. The operation was scheduled for the exact moment when Thrain's monitoring systems were at their weakest, during a routine system update that would briefly disable his ability to oversee the fleet. Miles had timed it perfectly. When the update went live, her team launched their attack. Within seconds they were inside the network, targeting hundreds of ships simultaneously. The tension was palpable. Every second mattered. The hackers worked feverishly, overriding command protocols, stripping away Thrain's control, and replacing it with their own. For what felt like an eternity, the outcome was uncertain. Each ship presented a unique challenge, with its own variations of the alien code. Miles and her team adapted on the fly, using every tool and trick they had developed over the past months. Then, one by one, the ships began responding. Status lights on their screens turned green, indicating successful takeovers. It started slowly, but soon the number of reclaimed ships began to rise exponentially. 50 ships. 100. 200. By the time the system update ended, they had control of nearly the entire fleet. But they couldn't stop there. Thrain's forces would soon realize that something was wrong, and they would attempt to regain control. Miles ordered the team to immediately install their own firewalls and encryption protocols to lock Thrain out of the network. It was a delicate balance, defending their position while also managing the fleet. The ships were still dangerous, armed with advanced weaponry and programmed for war. The coalition had to ensure that they didn't accidentally turn them against Earth in the process. Just as they were securing their position, Thrain's forces made their move. A small squadron of alien ships, under Thrain's command, approached the fleet. It was a mock attack, a way for Thrain to test the waters and see how much control he still had. He had no idea that Miles and her team had already taken over. Earth's leaders watched anxiously, uncertain of how the hackers would respond. This was their moment of truth. Miles gave the order to engage. The reclaimed warships, now under Earth's control, moved into formation. They fired a calculated barrage of warning shots, deliberately missing the alien squadron but demonstrating their full capabilities. The message was clear: Earth had control, and it was ready to defend itself. Thrain's forces hesitated, unsure of what to make of the situation. The sudden show of force caught them off guard. This wasn't the Earth they had expected to face, a planet helpless in the face of superior technology. This was a planet that had turned its disadvantage into a strategic advantage. Thrain's squadron pulled back, retreating to regroup. But the damage had already been done. The galaxy was watching. Word spread quickly that Earth had not only reclaimed its orbital debris, but had transformed it into a formidable armada of cutting-edge warships. The implications were staggering. This once unremarkable planet, dismissed by many in the galactic community, had just demonstrated a level of ingenuity and resilience that shook the established order. Earth was no longer just a planet of interest. It was now a force to be reckoned with. As the dust settled, Miles and her team took a moment to reflect on what they had accomplished. They had done more than just stop Thrain's plot. They had proven that Earth was capable of adapting, of using its unique challenges to its advantage. In the face of overwhelming odds, they had turned the tide. What had begun as a desperate attempt to reclaim a few ships had evolved into a full-scale reclamation of Earth's orbit. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. The public unveiling of Earth's newly formed Armada, dubbed the Reclamation Fleet, sent shockwaves throughout the galactic community. What had been dismissed as a planetary junkyard had now become one of the most formidable collections of warships in the galaxy. Earth's leaders, once relegated to the periphery of galactic politics, stood at the center of attention. Every major power was watching as the Armada, a symbol of human ingenuity and resilience, was revealed in full force to the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council meeting that followed was unlike any before. Delegates from dozens of species filled the vast chambers, many of them still processing the implications of Earth's sudden rise in power. Among them, Xylothrain, who had orchestrated the entire situation to his advantage, now found himself in an entirely different position. His plan to manipulate Earth had backfired spectacularly, and now the planet he had sought to exploit was in control of the fleet he had hoped to command. Earth's representatives, emboldened by their success, presented themselves with newfound confidence. The Reclamation Fleet was not just a collection of warships, it was a statement. For too long, Earth had been seen as a backwater planet, ignored and underestimated by the larger galactic powers. But now, the Reclamation Fleet stood as proof that humanity was not only capable of holding its own but also of wielding significant influence in the galaxy. The response from the Galactic Council was immediate and mixed. Some species were awestruck by Earth's achievement, recognizing the strategic brilliance in turning their own space debris into a weaponized fleet. Others were wary, seeing the fleet as a potential threat to the existing balance of power. And then there was Xylothrain, who, for the first time in his career, found himself outmaneuvered. His associates whispered behind his back, questioning how he could have allowed Earth to gain such a powerful bargaining chip under his watch. In private chambers, Earth's leaders began the process of negotiating their new position in galactic politics. They were no longer content to sit on the sidelines, and the Reclamation Fleet gave them the leverage they needed. The demand was simple. Earth wanted a seat at the Galactic Council, a permanent voice in the decision-making process that affected the entire galaxy. For centuries, Earth had been excluded, seen as too insignificant to warrant a place among the great powers. But now, with the Reclamation Fleet at their disposal, Earth's leaders knew they had something the Council could not ignore. The negotiations were tense. Many of the more powerful species resisted Earth's claim, arguing that one fleet did not justify a seat at the table. But Earth's representatives were prepared. They pointed out the hypocrisy of a galactic community that claimed to value cooperation yet allowed entire planets to be exploited and ignored. Earth had proven itself, not just by building the fleet but by showing it could outthink and outmaneuver even the most sophisticated alien powers. More than that, Earth's leaders made it clear that they were not interested in using the Reclamation Fleet as a tool of aggression. Instead, they offered it as a service to the galaxy. The fleet, they argued, could be used to help clear space debris across the galaxy, just as Earth had done with its own orbit. The offer wasn't just about cleaning up space. It was about protecting planets from the very kind of exploitation Earth had narrowly escaped. Earth's leaders framed the Reclamation Fleet as a force for good, a way to ensure that no other planet would suffer the same fate they had nearly fallen into. This proposal struck a chord with many of the smaller planets and species in the Galactic Council, those who had long been at the mercy of more powerful forces. Earth's offer of protection, combined with their ability to clear space debris, made them a valuable ally in a galaxy where power often dictated who thrived and who merely survived. Earth's leaders used this momentum to rally support among the Council's less influential members, positioning themselves as the defenders of the oppressed and overlooked. Xylothrain, still reeling from his miscalculation, found himself on the defensive. His attempt to downplay Earth's achievement fell flat. The reality was undeniable. Earth had taken what he had given them and turned it into something far more powerful than he could have imagined. Worse, Earth's diplomatic strategy was working. The more they spoke of using the Reclamation Fleet for galactic protection and cooperation, the more support they garnered. Thrain's empire, which had thrived on manipulating less advanced species, was now facing a backlash. Other planets, emboldened by Earth's success, began questioning their own dealings with Thrain and his associates. Within weeks, the Galactic Council came to a decision. Earth would be granted a provisional seat, with the understanding that they would continue to use the reclamation fleet for the benefit of the galaxy as a whole. It was a compromise, but for Earth, it was a victory. They had gone from being ignored and underestimated to having a voice in the highest levels of galactic governance. And it was clear to everyone in the room that this was just the beginning. The shift in perception of Earth was immediate. Once dismissed as a primitive planet on the fringes of the galaxy, Earth was now seen as a rising power. The ingenuity they had shown in repurposing their own space debris into a powerful fleet had earned them respect, but more than that, it had earned them fear. Other species, particularly those that had once sought to exploit Earth, now saw the planet in a new light. They realized that humanity was not just a survivor but a species capable of adapting, innovating, and turning the tables on those who underestimated them. For Earth, this new standing was both an opportunity and a responsibility. The reclamation fleet gave them the means to protect themselves, but it also made them a target. Other powers would undoubtedly seek to challenge their newfound position, and Earth's leaders knew they would have to navigate this new reality carefully. But for the first time in centuries, Earth was not on the defensive. They had taken control of their destiny, and they intended to make the most of it. Earth's transformation was nothing short of remarkable. Once seen as little more than a galactic dump, orbiting in a cloud of its own debris, it had risen to become a key player in interstellar politics. The journey from obscurity to influence had been driven by human ingenuity, resilience, and a refusal to accept the fate others had assigned them. The galaxy had always underestimated Earth, seeing the planet as a relic of past mistakes, content to wallow in the consequences of its overambition. Now, Earth stood at the forefront, its reclamation fleet symbolizing the shift in power and perception. The changes in interstellar relations were immediate. Earth was no longer viewed as a minor player or a planet to be dismissed. Instead, it had become a custodian of sorts, a symbol of how even the most unlikely of powers could rise to prominence through creativity and determination. Many in the galaxy now looked to Earth as an innovator. They recognized that humanity had achieved something extraordinary by turning its own failures into its greatest asset. Other planets, previously overlooked or exploited, saw in Earth a model to follow, an example of how adversity could be turned into strength. Dr. Elara Miles and her team were hailed as heroes. Their brilliance, tenacity, and ability to see beyond the immediate challenges had been instrumental in Earth's rise. Miles had done more than just hack into the alien technology. She had redefined the way humanity approached its problems. Her name became synonymous with resilience, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, there was always a way forward. Her team, working tirelessly in the shadows, embodied the spirit of human creativity, proving that the greatest victories often come from the most unlikely sources. As the celebrations on Earth and among its allies continued, there was a growing sense that this was just the beginning. The reclamation fleet, while a powerful tool, was not the end goal. It was merely a stepping stone, a means to secure Earth's place in the galaxy. Now, with a seat at the Galactic Council and influence that extended far beyond the planet's orbit, humanity faced new challenges and opportunities. The galaxy was vast, and while Earth had secured its position, there were still many threats and unknowns lurking in the distant reaches of space. Speculation abounded about what Earth's next move would be. Some whispered of alliances with other planets that had suffered under the same forces that once threatened Earth. Others spoke of the technological advancements humanity could pursue now that they had access to the resources and knowledge of the Galactic Council. The reclamation fleet itself, still in its early stages, could be expanded, refined, and used for purposes beyond mere defense. There was talk of exploration, of pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and venturing into parts of the galaxy that had never been charted. But with these new opportunities came new dangers. Earth's rise to power had not gone unnoticed by those who still held sway in the galaxy. While some saw humanity as a potential ally, others viewed them with suspicion and fear. The reclamation fleet, while powerful, had upset the delicate balance of galactic politics, and there were those who would seek to undermine Earth's newfound influence. Thrain, still nursing the wounds of his failed gambit, was only the first of many who would undoubtedly plot against Earth in the coming years. Yet, in true human fashion, Earth was undeterred. The challenges ahead were real, but so was the opportunity for growth, expansion, and innovation. Humanity had proven time and again that they could not only survive but thrive in the most hostile of circumstances. The future, while uncertain, was full of promise. The galaxy had changed, and Earth was at the heart of that change. At the core of Earth's success was the theme of underestimation. Time and again, the galaxy had written off humanity as a species doomed to failure. They had looked at Earth's cluttered orbit and seen a civilization that had overreached, one that would never recover from its mistakes. But what the galaxy failed to understand was the human spirit, the capacity to take adversity and turn it into something greater. Earth's rise was a direct result of that spirit, the refusal to accept defeat and the determination to turn every challenge into an opportunity. This capacity for resilience had become Earth's defining trait. Where other species saw obstacles, humanity saw potential. Where others gave up, humanity persevered. The reclamation fleet was a testament to this mindset. It wasn't just a fleet of warships, it was a symbol of Earth's ability to adapt, to innovate, and to take control of its own destiny. And now, as Earth looked to the future, that same spirit would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. The galaxy had learned an important lesson: never underestimate Earth. What had begun as a small planet on the fringes of galactic civilization had transformed into a formidable power, not through conquest or domination, but through sheer will and ingenuity. Humanity had taken the cards it was dealt and played them masterfully, turning the very thing that had once held them back into their greatest strength.